Hey, what's up guys? Sir Emanon here, back with another episode of Road to 1000 Dueling Book Rating. Yep, I have not actually quit the series or anything. It's just that I, again, took a bit of a break from YouTube for a little bit and put the series on hold in the meantime, but we're back and I actually have quite a few backlogged games from about a month ago or so. Just when I would like intermittently play some Dueling Book rated games on the side. But now that I'm a lot less busy with real life stuff, I can actually get back to uploading a lot more frequently, which is pretty nice. And I hope you guys are looking forward to that. There are going to be a lot more videos in this series, in particular, in the upcoming days. So yeah, be sure to stay tuned for those. As for the games that I am selecting, because you will notice quite a jump in terms of both my win-loss record as well as my rating itself from the last episode, if you guys are keeping up. Basically, I just want to showcase the like more competitive games as far as like matchup as well as gameplay itself. Like if there are blowout games, then I really don't want to showcase those. Like for example, I had a game against Salamangre where the guy kind of just bricked, and that's not really good to showcase for the channel as far as like trying to learn from my own gameplay as well as maybe trying to hopefully like teach you guys a little bit as well. Like we can learn together as a community. But anyways, yeah, so the games that I will be showcasing, I will showcase mixes of wins and losses like I have been doing, but it's just going to be the more, I would say, again, like close matches, where there's actually points of discussion rather than just like, oh, he bricked or he's playing, kind of just a rogue deck. So well, like I'm not afraid to showcase rogue decks. I should clarify, but like decks that you won't often see at events, I'm probably not going to showcase. Like for example, I played against Teller Knights, and that's a deck that isn't really on the radar at the moment. Like I'm not going to be afraid to showcase things like, for example, like Grand Maju or like Magical Muskets or things like that nature. But yeah, there will be like a cutoff as far as like power level of decks to which I will showcase. But enough of me rambling there. Let's just go ahead and get into the gameplay. So I had a brief stint of playing pure Orcust on DuelingBook. So this is going to be one of those games. Like I said, this was from about a month ago. So yeah, and this is actually going to be a pure Orcust mirror match. So it should be pretty exciting. We do win the rock, paper, scissors, so we get to go first. And our opening hand is pretty good, because we have Rhoda for a starter as well as just a handful of Orkest cards. So yeah, I Rhoda here and I grab a Dark Grepher. It's just because I don't want to lose to Ash, because as you can see, my opponent actually did draw it. But like just in theory, if you normal summon Armageddon Knight and I gets Ash, like this isn't the Striker Orkest deck. This was me playing before Striker Orkest kind of came to the forefront of the metagame. This is before Pasadena. So yeah, people weren't really on that deck yet. So it was just kind of like the more like hand trap heavy, like all in on the Orkest engine sort of build. But yeah, if you normal summon Armageddon Knight and that gets ashed with this hand, you just kind of have to pass with Impermanence and DD Crow. Whereas if you have Grepher, you can special it and then like make plays from there, and extend past like a single ash. So yeah, go ahead and special the Grepher. You can make an argument to like normal it, so that you don't have to. Oops. Hopefully that isn't too disruptive for you guys. Anyways, but yeah, like you could make an argument to normal summon the Armageddon Knight instead, or sorry, the Dark Grepher instead, and use its effect so that you don't have to commit as many resources from hand. Because ultimately there's enough redundancy in this opener to where like you'll be cycling through most of your resources regardless. So like if you in theory resolve this entire combo, you should be getting to both Symbol and Wand anyway. I guess the only other thing to be able to send is like maybe Gizmek, but you're already gonna be committing the Wand first before the Gizmek, so that's not really a relevant point here, I don't think. So yeah, like there could be like an argument to be made for that, but here I just wanted to be sure that I got more resources in Grave. So yeah, that's what I ultimately wound up doing. So I go ahead and use Grepher's effect to send both the Heart from my hand and the World Wand from my deck. So yeah, this is a case where if everything resolves, then you can send Gizmek, like if you do it this way, which I think is what my thought process was, is that like I can cycle through my entire Orkest engine because Harp can get the Symbol, and Nightmare can get Gizmic, and we already have Wand established from the Grepher being sent. So in theory, if the whole thing resolves, then you can get Gizmic set up as well as like the rest of this play. So that's not too bad actually, but you will see that obviously it does have the Ash, so we have to deviate slightly, but not too big of a deal. It's just that we lose the Gizmic in the end of it. He Ashes the Harp, so we obviously just take it back. Not a big deal. So yeah, this just means that we're gonna have to send the symbol off of the Nightmare instead of the Gizmic, which is again not too big of a deal because Gizmic's kind of just like a bonus if you can get it established this early on in the game, which was again the game plan, like by going through the line of special summoning the Grepher instead of normaling it. But yeah, anyways, here we're forced to use Wand because of how how he decided to use his Ash, which I think is generally pretty correct to use on Harp. In this hand, it ended up not mattering too much, but yeah, it's generally the strongest play to reserve your Ash for the Harp. So we're gonna go ahead and make Galatea here. Nothing too special. Nightmare's gonna dump Symbol like I just mentioned. And so yeah, basically the way that this got set up is that we were forced to use Wand early because normally if your Harp does resolve, like in the standard play, you get like the Nightmare on board with like whatever starter. Like if you start off with like Mathematician, then that's like the normal way you start off. Then you make Galatea and then you use the World Wand to summon back your other thing, and that's how that's what the board would end up looking like. But instead we just did Wand first and then Symbol because we never got the Nightmare on the field because of the Ash. But in effect, ends up using the same it ends up going through the same thing. You just use a symbol that you didn't have access to previously, so like that's how you're able to push past the one hand trap with the extension of Grepher. So Galatea is going to recycle the World Wand, of course, to get the Babel. So this is like the point where people like were aware of the IP combos and had started doing them after Chaos Impact, but prior to Striker Orcust being kind of more prevalent. So just some context for how this deck and like how the format was shaping up at the time. Again, this was, I want to say, at the beginning of November. So yeah. Go ahead and make Dingirsu. Gonna reattach the Symbol Skeleton. So yeah. Then we're gonna make IP and pass with Imperm Crow. So pretty strong setup. We don't have Nightmare engraved, but we have Symbol already set up. So like marginal differences. It's not really that big of a deal. It's generally pretty negligible. And there's also the Harp as well. So like we get special the Nightmare off of the Harp instead of the Symbol. Do it that way instead. And I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit stuffy. I am actually a little bit sick at the moment, which is like a terrible time to get sick, like right as I'm starting to get less busy, but it's fine. Gonna try and at least, make these videos in the meantime. Anyways, so he goes for a return play first. Probably checking for an Ash. I generally don't think it's a great idea to use Ash in return, especially because like you see what they pitch for cost anyway. So like the card that they normally pitch, if it's not Symbol, is going to be pretty high value. So like you probably rather Ash what they have in anyway. Like if you're playing something like Crow or Skullmeister, then you could like make a case for like doubling up on the hand traps there. But if like your only interrupt is Ash in that case, then like I would generally just let return resolve and like save Ash for the Harp. But yeah, he's gonna go ahead and use Instant Fusion. So this is when Instant Fusion was a lot more popular. It's fallen out of favor now, in favor of like either the Striker engine or more hand traps or like just other defensive non-engine cards. But yeah, we've kind of gotten to the point where like you don't really need instant as like another extender, because like the normal summons typically are just enough. So yeah, I think I'm also playing Instant Fusion in my build currently, but yeah, like not currently, but like as of this video, I should clarify. But in like modern builds, as of like the upload date of this video, people are really dropping Instant Fusion for most of their lists. So yeah, be sure to look at the upload date of this video as well as like paying attention to context, because even though like people are saying the meta has been stale and largely the same for a while, which I would agree with generally, there have always been minor adjustments made throughout the format, like from week to week and from month to month, which is true of most formats as like people sort of tighten up kind of the optimizations. We're gonna impermanence the restrict, that way we can keep our IP disruption for something more threatening. Excuse me. And we are going to yeah, he's going to use his nightmare. He does a bit of a weird play. He sends the world wand instead of a harp. I kind of expected it, because if he had sent harp, I would have just probably tried to DD Crow it. But because of the way he did it, I didn't really feel any pressure to, because like it kind of gave me a read a little bit on what his hand kind of looked like, because that meant that he probably had another way to send harp anyway, and was trying to like get me to use interruptions sooner. So you can see he also opened Dark Grepher, which means that he could just normal summon it since he hadn't committed his normal summon yet, and he could send his nightmare to or pitch his nightmare to send a harp horror from his deck, and then do it that way. So him sending the wand there kind of gave me a bit of the read that like his hand had to have had some other way to extend. Like either he drew the harp or drew a way to like send harp with one of his like other normal summons like Mathematician or like Armageddon Knight or something. In this case, it was Dark Grepher. So yeah, if your opponent ever does something that might seem a little bit weird, just kind of like think a bit about like what their sort of perspective might be. Like it might seem like, oh, they're just like they just don't know what they're doing, but in this case, like he had a intention in mind, and you just kind of gotta like read the situation if things seem kind of fishy to you, and try and like deduce information from what you can gather. But anyways, enough of me rambling there. We're gonna go ahead. He's gonna go ahead and make Galatea, and at this point, I go ahead and use my symbol interruption, just because like I feel Galatea is a pretty good point to like use a disruption on, because like he did already use his return, but obviously I can't make the read that he hard drew Babel. It's a one of. But like I just don't want him to like, get that cycling, and I feel like with between Masquerena and DD Crow, like I should be able to stop him from like getting access to like future Galateas. The other reason to send it there is that like he could use Dingirsu like straight up without using Galatea's effect. So like you kind of had to respond in the window where you can. So here he normal summons the Dark Grepher. And I was thinking, like, I hope I don't have to use IP for Unicorn, because that would kind of suck to have to pitch the DD Crow. So if you put this Dark Grepher in his far left zone, that's the only zone that's not affected by Long Girsu. Because right now, both the extra monster zones are free, so because of the way that Long Girsu points, basically it can send any monster that's in any of the main monster zones besides the far left one. Just if you look at the zones that Long Girsu has. But prior to that, I'm going to use the Harp Horror to summon the Orcust Nightmare, and then use Long Girsu. So yeah, you see the errors here. If I put it in this zone, it can send either where the Grepher is currently, or the zone to his right or my left, from depending on how you're looking at it. And then if I put the Long Girsu in the right extra monster zone, then I could send the next two zones. So again, like the only way to be entirely safe from Long Girsu is to put it in the far left zone, or like your far left zone. So just keep that in mind if like you're trying to play around Long Girsu with the IP play, because it's like pretty good if you're able to use Long Girsu instead of Unicorn, because that means that you can use Unicorn on future turns, as well as like recycle more resources than you normally would be able to, and not have to pitch a card out of your hand, in the case where, like, for example, I have a DD Crow here that I want to actually use, especially in this matchup. So yeah, just to on-summon, I do all of that, and I recycle my Symbol and my Harp to send his Grepher away. And then he activates Babel, and I believe he passes with one set. And then just on end phase, I'm going to DD Crow his Nightmare so that he can't use it during my turn. And then with that, he just goes ahead and scoops, because his set was a duplicate copy of Orchestrated Return. So that would have done anything on my turn proactively, and he had no hand traps. So going on to game 2 here, he's going to start, and he actually sides in Artifact Sanctum, which is always kind of like just an on and off trend during this format. Like some people are really a fan of it, others not so much. I don't think I'm setting it in my build that I'm playing here. And you notice I'm playing the Brass Bombard. Yeah, so you can tell how old this is, because nobody's playing Bombard anymore. But this is like when 3 return was like really just the standard, and you just want to maximize on the targets that you could send out Bombard. It's iffy. I think I only played one copy of it in this build, but like it's weird. It's a weird card because like it doesn't do anything on its own, and like past turn one, it really just doesn't get a whole lot done in most cases. It is nice like when you open a lot of Orkests and you can like make Link Kuriboh and then special add another Orkest out of your hand and just get your play started there. But and again, just having more targets for a turn is generally pretty nice. But like overall, some people have either cut return down to 2, or they're just like sufficiently happy with like 3 Harp, 2 to 3 Nightmare, and then like 2 Symbol and like the World Wand, which I think in most cases is like fine anyway. This also was before people started playing Allure of Darkness, like in pretty much most of the builds. Some people are still not playing Allure of Darkness for like various reasons, but a lot of people are now on that card. And like with the introduction of Allure into a lot of builds, like you don't have to worry about like the mathematical count of the Orkest as much because of the fact that you're gonna be drawing into them anyway, and like you can like send away like multiple copies or just like things that you can grab back with like Galatea and like recycle your engine that way as well. But anyways, he's gonna go ahead and summon Scrap Recycler, so do keep in mind that this is before the Scrap Wyvern, the Link monster. So this is just him playing Recycler. I do believe that this was about the point where Recycler was actually falling off in popularity because Mathematician was generally seen as superior. But like it makes a little difference in the cases where your opponent doesn't have an eruption like me. So yeah, he's gonna go and do the standard play. This is a standard combo where you go ahead and send Wand and then Wand special back. One of the two, either Nightmare or Harp. You recycle the Wand, you grab Babel, and then you Dingirsu. Attach the Harp, nothing too special here, and make IP. So yeah, his only like other interruption besides like the symbol and the IP is the Sanctum, but Sanctum pretty good here. Yeah, so I draw for turn. Ash is a 6 card always. I'm going to go ahead and shotgun the Cyclone on the Babel. That way, basically it nullifies an interaction like in the form of like symbol because his Dingirsu won't be able to actually send anything. I also opt to Ash his Harp, which you could argue is maybe not correct because of the fact that like it's not really going to do a whole lot. Granted, like, okay, so what he could do is like maybe go Harp summon like a symbol or something, and then Nightmare could send the Gizmic like what he's doing, and then you could go for I mean, it's not as threatening in this match, but like I guess in theory you could like go Trisbane kinda and then like proc it, but like that's not really that relevant here. Or he could like go Nightmare send symbol, but like yeah, like because I got rid of the Babel that way, it didn't really matter because like if Symbol were trying to like revive Galatea and he would try to go for the Zeraboros play, like Harp would already have been expended and then he wouldn't have been able to use his Gizmic in that case anyway. So yeah, like that's why shotgunning the Cyclone is good, but like Ash might not have been correct on here. It might have been just better to save it for like his own turn, because like he's not really getting any value regardless, like because in any case he's going to be able to proc his IP if he wants to, because like again he just sends a Gizmic and then summons it and then like IPs into whatever. But yeah, so it would have happened regardless of whether I ashed or not. But he wouldn't have been able to like, get the Zeraboros play online, like at least in the optimal fashion. So it probably would be better to just like save the Ash for his own turn, or like I didn't know he was playing Sanctum, but obviously if I kept it for Sanctum, it would have been really big there. So yeah, I go ahead and use the return to try and dig a bit more, and we draw into a Foolish, which is pretty good. So he goes and uses his Sanctum because he sees that I pitched a Bombard, so he doesn't want me to get the symbol or like whatever Orcust out of my hand. So he actually summons Lancia and he attributes it off so that I can't banish. So yeah, pretty rough. Again, if I had kept the Ash in my hand and Ash the Sanctum, then like he'd be down to just the IP, and like I have the mind control for it. So like if I had saved the Ash, then I probably am actually able to just win this turn, or at least like set up a board to where he can't really recover because I already banished his Babel. So like immediately the grind game favors me at this point, because like I have Babel access and he doesn't. So yeah, a bit of a bad decision there to use the Ash at that point. yeah, so definitely that hindered my play quite a bit. I don't know why I summoned the Yugioh in defense here. Yeah, I couldn't tell you why I did that. I probably should have just poked for some damage there, but that's fine. Yeah, he tries to go for Gizmic. I tell him that he's under Lancia, so he can't. This is during end phase, by the way. So it's no problem. We just take it back. And he draws the Scythe for turn. So nothing to like help him dramatically, but I don't have any interruption of my own because obviously Lancia resolved. So I was not able to actually get anything productively done. So yeah, we definitely are going to lose this turn. He has so many more cards than I do. And his graveyard is fully loaded, and I don't have like a Lancia of my own. So yeah, just that one usage of Ash lost me the game here. So yeah, it's like the little things that maybe might not seem important at the time definitely can impact the way that turns work out, because like it might seem like such a small thing. It's like, oh, it's just one interruption where like I have all these other cards that like maybe I could use differently as well, but like it's hard to like actually pinpoint where the mistake actually went wrong. But yeah, it was definitely incorrect to use Ash there. So yeah, good learning point for both myself and for hopefully you guys as well. Just be careful of when you use like certain interruptions that like just because you can use something, like just because I could use the Ash there doesn't mean that I should. Like it doesn't mean that's the optimal play. I think that's pretty important. So yeah, he just goes in and like smacks me with all his monsters, and I lose in the spot basically. So yeah, we are going to go into game 3 here. And yeah, so that could have actually been a very favorable game for me, because again, like the grind game would have favored me if I had all my plays resolve the way that I wanted them to. So I go ahead and use the return because I'm going first, and he uses Ash. So this is what I was talking about earlier, is like using Ash when you see your opponent pitch a Harp or a Nightmare, especially Harp, is like kind of a risky thing, because like all they really need is any like additional monster, and they have like the full play anyway. Like I have no problem like relinquishing my DD Crow from my hand to use as a normal summon just to get my play online. Like that's definitely worth it, because I'm trading that one interruption of DD Crow for 2 with IP and Symbol for Dingirsu. So like I'm already getting more value out of it, as well as just getting my engine online anyways. So like this is why like using Ash on return, like especially when you see them pitch Harper Nightmare, is like I don't think really the correct play ever. You can maybe make an argument for like hitting it when they pitch Symbol, because that means that they don't have a better thing to discard, and like they specifically then at that point relying on one of their 3 remaining cards being a normal summon. But like that, even then, that's not like that unrealistic to expect. Like they play like 2 to 3 Mathematician and like Armageddon Knight, Darkgrapher, or Rhoda. So like 5 or 6 cards being a normal summon, like just to have on top of like the the return plus like whatever like Symbol, or if they pitch like World Wand, it's not like too unrealistic to expect. So yeah, just keeping that in mind. So I believe I have Impermanence set and IP as well as Ash and like the whole shebang. So pretty good here. It's going to go ahead and mind control my IP, and I don't really have a response to it. I don't want to like use resources in Grave where it doesn't actually benefit me. Excuse me. So I decided just to let that go. And like if you notice, also the IP play is like really good because it plays around Super Poly. People have been cutting Super Poly quite a bit, and I personally am not too big of a fan of the card right now, just because like even if you Super Poly somebody, like you have to apply a lot of pressure in addition to it, which a lot of decks are able to do, like for sure. But like if you can't freely Super Poly like whenever you want to, like you have to Super Poly based on what like when they decide to overextend. Because most players won't extend resources if they don't have to. So in this case, like where you just like leave like IP and nothing else on board, like now your Super Poly is kind of just sitting there until your opponent actually does stuff, which is never really that good when you have to like commit other resources first and then Super Poly. It's like generally just not as good. So yeah, I'm gonna impair his Recycler here. And he actually just doesn't have any other extension. So I believe he just goes into battle phase and he attacks me for 900. IP can't attack because of mind control. So yeah. Yeah, so in battle phase, I use Nightmare to send its symbol, and then I just let it go at that point. I don't know why I do it at that specific interval, but I guess it didn't really make much of a difference. I just wanted to set up for a symbol for Dengirsu play. He is going to make a Trisbania, and yeah, and then phasing a symbol in Dengirsu for, I believe. Oh no, I was gonna go for the set card most likely, but ends up being hit by a Call by the Grave, which he held in his hand, which is pretty smart. Instead of setting it, because he suspected that I was going to go for the symbol revived Dengirsu on the end phase, so figure play to hold the card Called by the Grave instead of setting it. And he said it's super poly, so yeah. I do have Harp Engrave still, so I'm not entirely out of gas. I can still keep playing. And we draw for turn. So like again, I can just normal summon either of these hand traps and it's fine. It did suck that he had the Call by the Grave, so like Dengirsu is also not live in this turn. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, so I'm gonna normal summon DD Crow again. I feel like in this kind of simplified game state, it's better to just hold on to the Ash. And here he said he was thinking, so he's like contemplating using Super Poly there, which I think would have actually been okay. Because like that would get rid of my Babel too, because his Starving Venom would have gone in the zone that Trisbania pointed to, which would have gotten rid of my Babel. So like that would have been pretty nice. Like the follow-up would have been like Nightmare to send probably Symbol to get back Galatea, and then like go for maybe either a return or a crescendo, depending on what I saw on pitch, because like I don't know that he has his mind control as of right now. So like if he has another Orcust like to be able to pitch, like I could infer that he doesn't have anything, because like he probably would have used other stuff. Like he probably would have gone into Barricade Board Blocker and then like pitched in and go for the play. But yeah, like it would have been based on what I saw him pitch, of course. But regardless, he didn't Super Poly, so that discussion's not really relevant. Here he's also thinking about using Super Poly and using his own Trisbania as material. But yeah, I'm going to use Galatea because he hasn't decided to do it. And I go for a Crescendo. And I go for a World Wand off of the Nightmare. And I target the Galatea. So I attack over the Trisbania. And he lets that go through. Suspecting that I'm probably going to extend because I sent the World Wand. So he didn't really feel pressure to use the Super Poly there. And he was correct. So he doesn't actually use Super Poly at that point, but he uses it here, I believe. Yeah, he uses it here and pitches the mind control, because he draws the reinforcement of the army, so he could go for Armageddon Knight, like in theory, and then like send an Orkest for his play. But of course, I have Ash, which I kept, so he's just gonna hit me for the Starving Venom. And basically I'm pretty good at this point. Well, like I'm in an okay spot. I'm not in the best spot, but it's fine. I have Harp, so I could send. Okay, I probably shouldn't have specialed the Nightmare. I probably should have specialed the Symbol if I had symbols left, which I think I do. Yeah, I have a symbol left, so probably should have sent Symbol, because like at the very least I could have like crashed it and then like revived Galatea, grabbed another resource, and then like Dengirsu'd. So yeah, but here I was like kind of relying on drawing something. So if I drew like something that wasn't playable, like maybe like a Cosmic Cyclone or something, then this would have been terrible, because it would have given another turn. So yeah, definitely probably should have special the Symbol off of the Harp. Because again, at the very least, it sounds awful, but like you can crash it and then like get stuff out of grave, and then just keep playing from there. So here is a case of just a bit of luck, as opposed to the correct play. But yeah, that's why I like doing sort of like these reviews, if you will. Like I like doing this series because I get to kind of like criticize my own play, because like when you're in the moment, you don't often think about everything, like from like an objective standpoint, like an all-encompassing perspective. But hindsight is 2020, so you get to see like all of the like angles, all the, you know, the plays that you could have done, and things that you could have done differently. So the main takeaways is that game 2, game 1 was pretty good. I don't think game 1 was like there was anything super noteworthy. Maybe you guys can point out something if you disagree in the comment section. But game 2, I ashed at the wrong time, and that single-handedly turned the game around in his favor, because if I had it for the Sanctum, then I would have been able to resolve all my plays unhindered. And then game 3, I could have made different plays all throughout the game, but the one that sticks out the most is Harp summoning out the Nightmare at the last interval. Should have been Symbol for sure, because again, like, I got rewarded for being lucky by drawing this Ash instead of, you know, doing the correct play where it wouldn't have mattered what I drew. Like, because you don't ever want to rely on your top deck. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I apologize that it's been a while since I've kind of done, you know, this regular content, and this video is actually kind of long, so hopefully it makes up for it. It's about 30 minutes so far. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more competitive-oriented Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links are going to be in the description as always. And once again, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys!